It's LaShawn Pena. Thank you for stopping by at another video. I really appreciate it. And today we're going to be talking about how to secure research opportunity as an undergrad. I recently, volunteering at a hospital, and I met two young gentlemen who, told me, man, like, you have a ton of research. You've done research as an undergrad. How do I get involved? And this is something that I realized that for me it was maybe easy, that a lot of students don't have. So here's some of the tips. Certainly not all of it. I noticed some of my videos are longer, so these videos that I'm doing now are going to be shorter. But definitely reach out if you have any help, need advice. But these are just 4 quick tips and some other tips on how to secure a research position as an undergrad. The first thing I would say is, despite the fact of like whatever, how to get the research or whatever, I think the first thing you want to do is identify what are your interests in, right? Some of us, maybe we have a family member, or maybe we're afflicted with a certain disease, illness, and that, we're interested in studying diabetes, or we're studying hypertension because we see a family member have it. But some of us also, we love science. We want to be a doctor. We want to go, become a healthcare provider of some sort. We want to go to scientists, like we're in STEM, and we really do not know what we want to do, and that's fine. But I think that the first thing on your journey is to identify what are you interested in, right? Find something that you're interested in, be it diabetes, whether it's like complement. Maybe you're taking an immunology class with a professor and you like complement, and you understand, how it's important about the innate response. Like whatever you're interested in, try to identify that, because it would make it more easier when trying to find positions and navigating that. But that aside, here's my 4 quick tips that I have for you. First things first, I would say contact and network with your science professors. When I was in community college, I was in a biology class. I wanted to get involved in the lab. I didn't know what research was, but I just wanted to become involved in the lab, like as an assistant. So I went up to my professor and I said, hey, professor, I'm doing well in your class. And he told me, well, obviously I know that. And I'm interested in working with you. It was in the spring. I was going to have the summer free. And I said, do you have any opportunities? And, it wasn't a research experience, but what he did was hired me to wash dishes. And it's fine. I mean, sometimes you got to hustle. You got to start from a low ground, but that's fine. But talk to your science professors, especially if this is, let's say you're taking a genetics class or immunology class, and that's the type of research you want to do. Talk to them. Sometimes these professors have labs, or they're in labs themselves, or have connections of some sort, and talk to them. Tell them, go to their office. I will speak to them on a one-on-one basis and say, hey, I'm interested in the class. I also want to do research. Do you have any opportunities? Speak to them. Maybe they will have a position in their lab. Maybe they will find something for you. But always talk to them, because your professors are your number one stop to get into where you want to go. And let's say the professor doesn't have an opportunity, or the professor doesn't have a position that you want, or whatever. It's not what you want. It's not what you were looking for. Ask them. I'm very big on like tapping into other people's network. I'm very big on, increasing my circle. So if the professor that you're speaking to doesn't have that access, what I would say is tap into the network and say, hey, okay, Dr. Pena, since, you don't have any positions, do you have any colleagues, do you know anyone else in the department that needs a research assistant, or is doing the research that I'm interested in? Like, don't give up. Like, don't, just because you meet that first wall of resistance, think you have to stop. Certainly keep on pushing. So, network with your professors and ask them to tap in the network, meaning like talk to their colleagues, talk to the department and ask, right? With that said, let's say if you don't have any interest in the professors, whatever the professor interest you don't want to do, or whatever, you had a roadblock there, I would say then look at the larger community. Look at other professors, other faculty members at your school, right? Do not limit yourself with a professor that you take classes with. It makes it easier, and down the line, if you want to let a recommendation, it makes it easier because you have been a student and then now work as a research assistant. But that doesn't matter. Look at other professors, right? If maybe you have a medical school at your school, network with them. Like, look at these other professors, identify what you're interested in, and then make a search on your school's website and find professors, and then read their papers and contact them. Contact them, say, hey, I'm an undergrad at your institution, and I'm interested in your research. I would love to talk to you one-on-one about your research, and then hopefully talk about a position in your lab. So like, don't limit yourself just to professors. And what I will say is that, let's say if you contact a professor, a faculty member that's not a professor of yours, and let's say you really hit it off, and this is something you would want to do, don't limit yourself. Like, I'm very big on hustling. I'm very big on making moves to get what I want. So if you identify, let's say you identify Professor Dr. Khan, and Dr. Khan studies hypertension, and this is a lab that you want to be in. It's at the medical school. Like, one thing I would do is contact people in her lab. So I would contact Dr. Khan to speak to her, but I'll contact postdocs if she has. I'll contact research scientists. If she has graduate students, PhD or masters, I would contact them, or even other undergrads, like network. I would definitely reach out to other people in her lab and just say, hey, like, do you know of any positions? Can you tell me about the projects? Because like, it shows if you're interested and you're proactive, it will take you a long way. So just don't limit yourself. So like, I'll do other videos on how to network and how to make these moves. But again, if you identify other faculty members, like, don't limit yourself to just that. My third and fourth one sort of tie in together, and it goes that it's, identify whether your school has an undergraduate research office. A lot of these undergrad institutions have these offices where they're a one-stop shop for students who want to do research. Some of these schools promote it if you're a research intensive, or you attend a research intensive school, but some of these schools are sort of more smaller, departments. But nonetheless, most of these schools should have something like that. And first thing first is I would try to identify whether my school has one, and then see what they have to offer. And I've seen multiple levels of what an undergraduate research office can do. There's some of these offices where they will, directly pair you with professors that got on the list and say, hey, we're looking for students. Some of these offices will just give you money and you find the professors, or X, Y, and Z. There's a host of things, but identify whether you have a research office, make an appointment with one of the people that work there, and introduce yourself and tell them what you want. Some of these research offices also have diversity programs. So in addition to looking whether you have a research office at your institution, look at diversity programs. Look for programs like MARC, McNair, BP Indoor, RISE, Bridges, Mark Ustall, IMSD, Build. There's a host of other, McNair Scholars, there's a whole host of like undergrad diversity research programs that you can be involved in. And I'll put a link in the description. But look at these programs and, apply to them. So they're meant to guide you, whether it's a PhD, MD, whatever you're interested in, to get involved in research. So I'll definitely look at my school and see if there's something like that. When I was an undergrad, we didn't have a research office per se, but we did have these diversity programs, and I was fortunate to network and get into one of them that was involved in neuroscience. So definitely find these offices and definitely try to network with them. So those are my top 4. I have other tips and stuff like that, but I'll put them in, maybe I'll do another video, contact me. I'll be able to help you individually. But here's some other stuff that I would just want to say when you're looking for research experiences. First things first is do not be afraid to start with menial jobs. And what I mean by that is my first research experience, actually my first 2, was washing dishes. Like I was in the lab washing dishes, cleaning, flasks and stuff like that. And is that research? Not really. And I really wanted research. I didn't want to just pad my CV. And so, but that was all I could get at that moment. And so sometimes you just got to hustle. Sometimes you got to lay low until you find that next move. So I was doing this one. So after the first one in community college, I went to Hunter College, which was my undergrad, and I was washing dishes. I wasn't really doing much, but that's fine. At the same time, when I was in the lab, I was learning from others, or trying to learn from others. Even though I wasn't doing any active research, I was seeking other opportunities. So definitely, just because you start small, it's fine. Always use that as a stepping stone. Just don't think that you're going to get involved in the paid research position, or one where the project is yours. You got to work, you got to grind, you got to invest some time. You got to start small and then build your way up. And then, with that, let's say you get a position, you get a nice position, you get a research project, but it's not in the lab or the field that you want. Maybe you want to study diabetes, but you're in, a hypertension lab, or you in a lab that studies psychology, whatever. What I'm trying to say is just because you're not in that lab, that doesn't mean that experience is worthless. No, you'll learn techniques, you'll learn what it means to be a scientist, you'll learn how to think, and more importantly, you get to know what it means to do research. So it doesn't matter just because you're not doing that field as an undergrad. I would argue that your experience matters more. So definitely use that time to develop your skills, and certainly look at other positions. If that's not their lab, that's not the research you want to do, I'm not saying stay there, but certainly I would say make the most out of it. Learn techniques, right? Learn different stuff, because definitely science is not just neuroscience here, physics here. There's skills that are transferable. So there's still opportunity to learn. So definitely, and if you're not in the lab that you want to be, still try to make moves and hustle, go somewhere else. But more importantly, just really learn as much as possible, because that experience matters. 2 more things. Another thing is don't limit yourself in thinking that you have to do research at your institution. That's certainly the case for summer programs, and I'll do a video on summer programs. But I was at Hunter College in New York City, but in New York City, there's Columbia University, there's NYU, there's Rockefeller University, there's Cornell, there's Albert Einstein. There's these other major institutions in New York City. And so just because I was in Hunter College, I dreamed big. I was I don't have to do research just at CUNY, and there's nothing wrong with CUNY, but it's a small public school. They don't have as much funds. I always dreamed big, and I was no, I want to go to NYU, and I'll do a video on that. But I was I want to go to NYU because I had read a book on a professor named Dr. Joseph Ledoux, and I wanted to work in his lab. And I did not let, just because I was a Hunter College student, or because I didn't go to NYU or anything like that, stop me. I got denied 4 or 5 times the position, but ultimately I got in, and I got a publication out that lab. But my purpose in telling you that is that sometimes if you don't limit yourself at your school. If you're in a school, in a school where there's other schools available, look out there. If you're in California, it doesn't mean, let's say you live in the Bay, you can go to Stanford and do research there, look at Berkeley. There's other schools, so just don't limit yourself. Look outside. If there's a professor doing the research you want to do not limit yourself and think, yo, I can't get into it. So definitely look out and, dream big. And lastly, I want to say, it's sort of going back into what I was going to say earlier, but it's about research programs. So definitely you want to secure research experiences throughout the academic year, but also look at research programs so you can do over the summer. I would argue that sometimes it's better to get that diverse experience, so that if you're doing research at your home lab, you definitely want to go somewhere else for the summer. And I'll do a video on that, on applying to summer programs like Amgen and whatnot. But nonetheless, those are my tips. And you don't have to do research. It's more important, especially if you want to go into medical school. You obviously want to go into a PhD. And I think research is a beautiful thing to do. It teaches you how to be a scientist. It teaches you how to think. It teaches you how to read the literature. And so sometimes, it can be hard to get those positions. But if you do those 4 tips, definitely that can get your way into the door. But if you have any questions, if you want personalized tips, I can definitely help you. Shoot a comment, shoot an email, and then definitely I could be able to help you. But check out the description. I will have more links on different programs, and check out my other video when I talk about the summer programs and give you advice on how to apply to these things. So thank you very much, and stay blessed.